Hello Ice and Fire Nerds, this is Chris and welcome back to another Game of Thrones Season 7 predictions video. But today's going to be a little bit different. I have a special guest with me here to join in on the discussion. Welcome Dan from Talking Thrones.
Hey Chris, how you doing? I appreciate you having me on the channel. Like I've told you many times in the past, I have been a fan of yours for a very long time. I've watched pretty much all of your videos. So to actually be on your channel and talk to you about the show is a complete honor. I'm very excited to get into this discussion with you and see what we can come up with. So thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Not a problem at all. I really appreciate you being here to join in on the discussion. And today we're going to talk about Game of Thrones Season 7, Dany versus Cersei.
Dracarys.
I guess my first question or topic would be, do you think that there's going to be a big battle for King's Landing? I'll kind of start this off. I don't think there's going to be a big battle. I think it's going to be more of a, Cersei's going to understand that she really can't win this thing. She don't have much of an army left. I think the Lannisters are going to be somewhere else as far as their army and probably get taken out by Dany anyway. How do you think this is going to go down? Is there going to be a battle for King's Landing?
In Season 7, I don't think so. Like you said, I think it's going to kind of build up to that. I think we're going to see some small attacks. We'll see Dany basically establish herself in Westeros and on Dragonstone, basically set up camp, start to strategize how she's going to do this. By the end of Season 7, I don't think we're going to get that big battle just yet.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, Dany's going to come in essentially to Dragonstone. Obviously, that's the ancestral seat of House Targaryen. And set up shop there, like you said, and I think she's probably going to just honestly send ravens out, under Tyrion's guidance, of course. She may want to go in and make a statement and try to burn something to the ground, but Tyrion will kind of keep her from going mad queen, right? So like her father. So I think she sets up shop, sends out ravens, and says, "Look, here I am. I'm going to be your queen, whether you like it or not. Please come and bend the knee." As is custom. Otherwise, I do have 3 giant-ass dragons. So I think that's basically how it's going, as far as her arrival to Westeros, that's how it's going to go down, at least for the setup for Season 7.
Absolutely. I think when she realizes Cersei's not going to be willing to bend the knee or leave the throne, that's when Dany's probably going to start basically setting up a perimeter around King's Landing, pretty much setting up in Dragonstone, possibly setting up in Storm's End. She already has Dorne and the Reach and Highgarden right now. She'll probably try to get the entire north and basically box Cersei in and basically leave her with no choice. Either you bend the knee or you die.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that she, I hadn't thought about the actual physical barriers that she may set up as far as things. I thought more about along the lines of, alliances. So I think that's where Gendry fits in, for example. I think he gets rescued from King's Landing where he's been the entire time. Apparently he hasn't been rolling for 4 seasons. So I guess he did make it back to King's Landing. Of course, he knows who his father is. I think that's probably why Tyrion and Davos go to King's Landing. We do know this from filming news, so again, potential spoilers here, but we're speculating. So I do think that that's where kind of Gendry comes in. She's going to want to make him essentially Lord of the Stormlands. You know what I mean? She needs these alliances politically. Tyrion will kind of counsel her on all this, I believe, and I believe that's going to be her route in general, is to start to build these alliances. Kind of like, again, you got to think about it. It's a repeat of history, right? It's Aegon the Conqueror reversed. Absolutely,
I agree. I think we may even see Gendry be legitimized at some point and given Storm's End, like you said.
Yeah, I agree. I think you will too. I think that's going to be a little different in the book with Edric Storm or something, but yeah, I think Gendry is essentially going to be the Lord of the Stormlands again, so legitimized by Dany, by a self-proclaimed queen of the 7 Kingdoms. So I don't think there's going to be a big battle. I do think you're right. I think she sets up. There'll be some skirmishes for sure, no doubt about that, because I think the Lannisters try to make a move on Highgarden. With Cersei's, her plans, how they go. We talked about that a little bit on your channel with Cersei and her plans. How they always seem to be smart, but they always backfire every single time.
Every time.
So, I agree. I think I think Cersei will see. She is smart enough to know that she can't win a battle. She has 0 defenses, and really anybody for that matter, against an aerial attack. So I think there's not going to be a big battle. If there is a battle of King's Landing, that may come at the end of the season in the sense of Cersei and a wildfire trick again. So I don't think there's going to be an actual, cool battle where she burns King's Landing to the ground. So
I agree. Do you think we could ever see Cersei actually try to escape back to Casterly Rock, or do you think she's just going to turn basically King's Landing into a ticking time bomb?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I wonder if she would ever get to the point where, she realizes she can't win and can't defeat her enemies, however she plans on doing that. And I thought, maybe she tries to get back to Casterly Rock and just, go home. But I don't think she will because, she believes in this prophecy from Maggie the Frog. She's basically lived her life by it. So I think now that her children are all dead, at least in, as far as we know, there are some speculations out there and theories that Gendry could be her kid, at least in the show. But anyway, I think that, with her children being gone, I don't think she gives a damn. She's either going to rule or die. You know what I mean?
I absolutely agree. I don't think she's ever going to bend the knee. I don't think she's going to hand that throne over at all. I think she's basically going to sink with the ship.
Exactly. She may pretend to agree to some, type thing with Dany, but she will definitely won't really care and will end up trying to betray her in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, she'll definitely go down with the ship.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that.
So, kind of building off the Dany versus Cersei battle, so how does Euron fit into this? You think that, I think that Euron's probably going to not really have a choice now since Yara and Theon got to Dany first. How do we think that that Euron's going to fit in? Is Cersei going to agree to marry him?
I don't think so. Euron may try to do that. He's probably going to basically take his plan that he was going to do with Dany and offer her his fleet, basically. And he may offer some type of marriage deal with Cersei, but I don't see her accepting that. I highly doubt she would marry Euron.
Yeah, I think I think he'll definitely offer that to her. Obviously, we've had some filming news. Obviously he's going to be in King's Landing. We may see him hit Old Town and stuff, and that would be more of a book storyline there. There's some interest there as far as a certain book in Old Town at the Citadel. But I think that she may actually agree to it, but she doesn't plan on actually following through with it. If that makes sense?
Yeah, we could see that, definitely.
Or where she's like, yeah, I'll marry you, because we have to defeat this dragon queen that's invading our land, but she never will actually marry anybody. She'll never marry a man again to be her king.
Yeah, she could do that just to basically get his fleet and whatever men he has. She could do something like that.
Exactly, and that's just the way she rolls, right? So she will, regardless. So either way, I think she may actually agree to it to his face, but she'll never plan on actually doing it. So.
And do you think Jaime would ever allow her to marry somebody else?
Well, that's a good question. In the books, Jaime's they're already kind of broken up. He's aware of all the infidelity with other members of the family, so to speak. So, I don't know at this point in the show. I think we saw the look of disgust at the end of last season. I don't see Jaime sticking around for too long. At least I hope. I see. And we'll get into this probably at more of the season 8 type of prediction, but I still see the Valonqar thing in the books at least. Again, if people have to remember the Maggie the Frog thing, they did not mention the Valonqar piece of that prophecy in the show, so it could really go down a lot different in the show. But as far as her potential death, I still think that's going to be Jaime because it's like there's been so much foreshadowing about. They've come into the world together. They were always together. They'll go out together. So I think that's the way it's going to go down.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said the same thing in the past. I definitely think Jaime will be the one to do it. It'd be pretty much the most poetic justice thing that they could do in the show. So I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of arguments to this is not necessarily death predictions, but there's a lot of arguments as to. Maybe Jaime dies in some way and Arya takes her, his face, and that technically fulfills the prophecy. So I could see that as well. But so what about Yara? So we know from filming news that Yara / Asha in the books is going to be captured and taken to King's Landing by Euron. So we do know there's going to be some sort of potential alliance there. Do you think Yara survives?
I think she will survive the majority of the season for sure. We've seen spoiler photos come out of Theon getting his ass beat on the beach of what I'm assuming is Dragonstone by some other Ironborn guys.
Right.
I've always speculated that they're more than likely pissed off that he allowed Yara to be captured or at least didn't do enough. So I think eventually Theon's going to try to get his sister back, basically like she did when he was locked up with Ramsay. Now, will he succeed? I don't know, but I think he's definitely going to try.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, with that scene with him and Jon, I think that is on Dragonstone, obviously, with her making all these alliances, and I think he ends up going out. Not to get into death predictions, but I could see him going out in a blaze of glory to save her. I just think for some reason that she survives this. Now, On the other hand, we know that the Sand Snakes will be captured. I don't think they're going to survive this. I think the Dornish storyline is pretty much going to be wiped out, but it does tie into Dany's allegiances. So what do you think about the Dornish storyline? Will we see them, Dan and Dave, completely wipe it off the map so they don't have to deal with it anymore?
I think so. I think they're trying to basically get rid of that as soon as possible, which is pretty much why they started killing off the characters in season 6 at a very high rate of speed. They killed off the prince. Was that Oberyn's son?
Oberyn's brother Doran, yes. I mean, that was just a big shocker to everybody. Like, what? I mean, it was one thing for the Sand Snakes to be, an odd storyline in the show because, so much bigger in the books, the Dornish storyline. But then to just wipe out Doran was just a shock to even book readers.
Yeah, and now with the Sand Snakes being captured, I think they're pretty much done. I think Cersei, once she gets her hands on them, if she doesn't kill them herself, she'll probably have the Mountain torture them pretty horrifically.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I think the Sand Snakes, I think Nymeria, and I think the other ones will probably be killed in some other way. Those two are captured. I think they're probably gone because, of course, they did kill Myrcella. Cersei will have no mercy on her. They may, they may hold Yara for a while though. As far as her, the original question was Yara, so I think that she may pose an interest as far as a hostage, as far as some value there. So I don't know if she'll immediately kill her. I think she survives this somehow because it goes along to kind of what I was saying in previous Q&As was, there's going to be a lot of women in charge at the end of this thing. And so, she agreed to rule the Iron Islands with Dany with the pact. So I can see her getting out of this somehow. So, maybe that's part of the deal. We know there's going to be this meeting in King's Landing. Perhaps that's part of the deal. She's supposed to be the ruler of the Iron Islands, and Dany would stick up for her. So
that's exactly what I was going to say next. Once Cersei learns that Yara is basically aligned with Dany, she may try to use Yara as a chess piece to negotiate with.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I'm holding out hope at least, right? I mean, I'm hoping I want Yara to survive this. Go ahead, I guess wipe out the Sand Snakes for the show. That's fine. Although it seems to be important with Dany's alliance, but they just really don't fill in the holes there of these. When these people die, right, in the show, there's just these vacuums of power. We know there's a lot of Tyrells left, for example, but who's running the show besides Olenna? So it's weird they don't mention the cousins and all the stuff that would potentially take over a house, and that goes for Dorne as well. So of course that's just the difference between the show and the books. Anyway, I do think they're pretty much going to wipe out Dorne as far as the storyline goes, but I do hope Yara survives at least. Maybe that's just wishful thinking.
I agree. I like Yara's character. She's tough. She's kind of like Lady Olenna in a way, but just a much younger version. She's just a tough woman. She's fierce, and I just like the way she's portrayed in the show.
I agree. Yeah, that's a good example there. A younger version of Olenna, the Queen of Thorns.
Yeah, she don't take no shit.
Don't take no shit. So for the last big topic, I guess, we do have this meeting in the Dragon Pit, right? Of course, the Dragon Pit is in King's Landing. So how do you think this is going down? I mean, I've said before that if they're having a meeting in the Dragon Pit as King's Landing, you would think that Dany would already have control of the city, because she's obviously the powerhouse here. I don't see anybody really stopping her. How's this meeting going down? Is Cersei still in control at this point? We did have the leaked concept art, right? And it seemed to be that Tyrion and Jon were approaching Lannister guards. So it looked to be there that she may still have control of the city.
Yeah, I think she probably will. This is probably her realizing that she really has no other option. So she's probably going to do kind of like what you said, pretend like she wants to set up this meeting and basically not maybe bend the knee, but support Dany's cause. But in the end, she's going to lie. It's going to be, basically smoke and mirrors, and she's going to go against everything that she probably says at this meeting, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And of course, and again, potential spoilers here. We have heard of the meeting is supposed to be about the true threat, right? Because Jon's involved. He's trying to rally the realm about the White Walkers, and they're supposedly going to capture a White and prove it to everybody somehow. When I first heard about this is the one part of the leak that was sent to me, this and the dragon piece we won't mention, but it was odd to me because they've already tried this. They've already tried to bring a hand to King's Landing and it rotted, so they're going to try to capture one alive. I didn't really like this little idea at first, and I'm not sure if I still do, honestly, but it seems to be the meeting's going to be about that, but at the same time, Dany is after her throne, after she believes it's her blood right, so, it's weird. It's hard to say how that meeting's going to go down. And I was just thinking that if they're meeting there has to be an agreement to meet there. So is that part of the deal to take King's Landing? And will she offer Cersei, basically a way out? Like, look, just go back to Castle Rock and live out your days, but you're not going to be queen anymore.
Yeah, I think we could see something like that. We might even see Cersei agree to do that, but I really don't see her abandoning the throne. And this mention about the white, I've been wondering that too. Like, that's a part that I always didn't understand or like about the leak either. I was always wondering how they were going to preserve this body all the way down to King's Landing.
Right. Well, I get, yeah, and if they're going to do that and capture a white, and supposedly this is going to be what, at Eastwatch, north of Eastwatch, somewhere north of the wall. Are they going around the wall in the ocean? I guess to get back to the south if they capture it alive. How does that work? We don't know how the magic works. I mean, can you just go around the wall, or under it? You know what I mean? How does that work?
Yeah, that's what everybody's been wondering. How the hell are they going to get this white south? I'm assuming if you go around the wall, it could work that way, but we really don't know. They haven't explained exactly how that magic works.
Exactly, and I think I've mentioned before, there seems to be an issue with the White Walkers, at least, in salt water, because we saw at Hardhome. We know it from a scientific, standpoint. Not to go all scientific on everybody, but salt water can freeze at a low enough temperature. But the Night King didn't do that. He just had to stare down with Jon. They didn't chase him past the shoreline. So I guess they could just hop in a boat at Eastwatch or whatever, and just or near Eastwatch, north of Eastwatch, and head back south that way. And I guess they could bypass the magic there.
Yeah, and we really don't know what they're going to do with Bran either. They may still have his mark on his arm dispel the magic in the wall too. So at that point that they bring the white south, Bran may have already, dissolved the magic in the wall. We really don't know yet.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. I didn't think about the timing there. So yeah, Bran could have already been through the wall at that point, and they could simply go through it. I don't think the wall comes down until the end of season 7. I think that's probably the last scene you have. That's the way I see it going down. But yeah, that's a good point. If he's already through and that spell's broken, they could just go through the gate, Castle Black for that matter.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that would be one of the ways they may explain it, just because they already shown us what it did to the Three-Eyed Raven's cave. So if it did it to the wall, they really wouldn't have to explain anything. We would pretty much already know.
And if they do take that route through Castle Black or something like that, or even Eastwatch, if they happen to show that set, I wouldn't think they'd build another set for Eastwatch, but that could bring Dolorous Edd and the Night's Watch into the story as well. So that's true. I can see that happening.
Absolutely. There's something I want to ask you, though, since we're talking about Dany and Cersei. Do you think anything's going to happen to one of Dany's dragons in this season?
I don't know. I don't buy like I said, the one part of the leak I was sent was about one of the dragons. I don't necessarily buy that part of it, or any of it for that matter. I know there's a meeting going down, but I still don't know exactly how that's going to happen or what that's surrounding. If it is this white thing, a lot of people seem to have confirmed that, but the dragon part, I really don't buy that necessarily. I can see it going down because it would be a little bit of a twist on the whole 3 dragon riders thing, right? Because everybody's been asking for years, who are the 3 dragon riders? There has to be 3. The dragon has to have 3 heads. So if the Night King is another rider, that would be a shocker. It would be a shocker. So,
yes, it would.
It would, because you have obviously Dany. And a lot of people obviously speculate Jon will, bond with Rhaegal, for example, being named after Rhaegar. So the third rider being the Night King versus somebody like Tyrion would be a hell of a twist, I got to say.
What about Euron and Cersei basically forming an alliance? Do you think we will see the dragon horn in the show?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the horn we saw with the dragon glass that Sam captured, that they found on the Fist of the First Men, I think that was more of an Easter egg for the books. I don't think it's going to be used. I just don't see. The reason I say that is because I believe if they were going to do the horns, they were going to do Dragon Binder, I think they would have introduced that with Euron in the King's Moot.
Yeah.
Because he basically, in the books, he used the Dragon Binder horn to basically win the King's Moot. But in the show, they used the aspect of the ships being a plot device to win over Dany, right? So I think if they were going to do the horns, they would have introduced Dragon Binder with Euron there, giving him an actual reason to win the King's Moot. Because he basically came out and said, look, I killed your king, and that right there should have been grounds for treason and instant death, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
So he comes out and says, yeah, I killed my brother, he was an asshole, and they're like, okay, cool. That ain't gonna happen. I mean, if you had the horn there, okay, then you have something to stand on. They have a reason to follow him. So they use the ships as a device for that. The fleet that's going to win them Westeros. So yeah, I just don't see the horns being in the show. So that makes me question, of course, how important are they in the books?
That's true. That's very true. I've just been kind of wondering how Cersei is going to stand a chance against Dany's big-ass fleet, all of her troops, and those dragons. I'm wondering how they're going to basically make this war exciting, or at least build some tension off of it, because as of right now, Dany could just completely wipe out King's Landing if she wanted to.
Yeah, exactly, and I think they'll rely on more of the outlying skirmishes, and that's another question I was going to ask really quick. How did Yara get captured? Are we going to see a little sea battle? Now, I personally think there may be a sea battle, but I don't think Euron's stupid enough to go up against Dany straight up. I think if he knows that she's got that entire fleet with the Martells and the Tyrells, all her ships that she got from Slaver's Bay, as well as 3 fucking dragons, I don't think he's dumb enough to go up against her straight up. So will we see kind of the fleet split up, for example, and that's how Yara gets captured with some little sea battle there?
Yeah, I agree. I think they almost have to be split up. I mean, we know Euron is a badass on the sea, but just the size of Dany's force compared to his, unless he built these 1,000 ships somehow, I really don't see him standing a chance against her entire fleet. So I think you're right. I think they would have had to have split up at some point for him to be able to single out the Greyjoy and possibly the Martell fleet.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's that stupid, and I think they have to kind of do it that way. Maybe she's sending, because Dario mentioned, and once we take, Casterly Rock, the Lannisters will be shocked. They have no idea we're coming. So I think, her plan is to establish some outlying areas, Dragonstone obviously being one, maybe coming up from Dorne or something. Maybe she sends Yara and her fleet over to the Iron Islands and somebody to Casterly Rock, for example, or Lannisport. So, yeah, I think that's probably the way it's got to go down, because he's not that stupid. He is a good captain, and part of that being is, don't attack the larger fleet with dragons. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just takes common sense.
Right. So, yeah, I think that's probably how I would imagine how Yara ends up getting captured in the first place, and Theon, of course, feels responsible for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, so I think that's everything I had. I think that overall, it's not going to be this big, it's Dany versus Cersei, but it's not going to be a major battle, and that does bring into question things like the House of the Undying, the visions there. Obviously, they're a lot different in the show. You saw the ceiling burn out. That was obviously Dragonfire. I was thinking, it could be Wildfire. Of course, we found out, after the last season when she blew up the Sept. I think she tries the wildfire trick again, but in the House of the Undying visions, that doesn't look like wildfire to me. Wildfire is going to explode. This was literally the ceilings burn out and melted. It kind of looked like Harrenhal, and of course we got that story from Tywin. So I think that was a possible future. I do think we'll see dragons flying over King's Landing. I think we saw that in Bran's vision season 4, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to attack King's Landing.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. If that is Dragonfire, actually, at the Red Keep, Bran's vision probably is true, and that was when he saw the dragons actually flying over top of King's Landing. Right,
so that's yet to be seen whether it actually comes true. That could have been a possible future or something like that, but maybe she goes down and burns a little bit just to show her what's up, and get her to try to bend the knee, but I think we both agree that Cersei's just going to end up going down with the ship regardless.
Yeah, I think so. I don't see her giving up the Iron Throne. I don't see her bending the knee. Like you said, with her kids now dead, she really doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's lived her entire life by that prophecy, and she's not going to give it up. She's told Ned herself, you either win the Game of Thrones or you die. So I think that was pretty much saying how she feels about it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So, so anyway, one thing I wanted to mention really quick before we go, I'm just going to throw out a little prediction for the end of this thing regarding Cersei and Dany, more along the lines of Dany. I think, let me just ask you this real quick, and then I'll add my little piece to it. Do you think there's going to be an Iron Throne at the end of this thing?
No, I do not. I actually think it will be gone by the very end of this show. I don't think the Westeros is going to be set up the same way as it used to be. I think pretty much life as we know it is going to be completely changed, in my opinion. So, yeah, I do think the Iron Throne will be gone by the end.
Yeah, I agree. You know, you may have heard me talk about in several videos and Q&As that I think going at least to be the beginning of change as far as feudalism goes. You know, more of a democratic style, maybe independent states or something like that, like the original kingdoms before Aegon. As far as the Iron Throne itself, I actually think that physically and metaphorically there will be no Iron Throne. I think Dany will have it melted down by Drogon. Like it's almost the opposite of Aegon, right? The Conqueror. He had it forged for the fallen enemy. She has the damn thing melted, you know, because it represents the old days, right? So and then change. So
that's very interesting. I never thought of it like that. I like that comparison.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, you know, because it's a parallel with Aegon the Conqueror, but it's also a lot of reverse parallels. So I think she has the damn thing melted down in the end of this thing before the end of this thing, whatever. So I don't think there will be a figurative or literal Iron Throne to sit on.
Yes, I completely agree. And like I said, I like that comparison you gave. So I think we get the same thing. I see it going down that way as well.
All right, well, I think that covers it all, unless there's anything else you have on the Dany versus Cersei drama/saga.
No, I think that's about it. All I can really say is I can't wait for season 7 to begin and actually see all this stuff actually start to take place. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, same here, and we should be getting some trailers, at least some teasers, very, very soon. So I look forward to those. So anyway, guys, that'll do it for this Dany versus Cersei discussion. So again, thank you, Dan, so much for coming on Smokescreen. I really, really appreciate it. For you guys that hadn't seen Dan's channel, Talking Thrones, please go check him out. He does a lot of spoilers as well. And if you're interested in the leaks that supposedly came out, the supposed leaks, I should say, he does a lot of videos on that as well, plus theories, all other good stuff. So please go check out his channel. The link will be in the description below. And Dan, thanks for coming on Smokescreen.
Chris, I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. Like I said, it's been an honor and a pleasure to be on here with you. I've been a fan of your channel for a very long time. So to actually be on your channel and get to speak with you, it's been a big motivator for me to get my channel to this point to actually be able to sit down and discuss the show and books, hopefully in the future with you. And hopefully we get to do more videos like this together in the future. I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you, sir.
Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. And also be sure to head over to Dan's channel, Talking Thrones. We just did a video on his channel as well, talking about Arya and Sansa and their Season 7 predictions and how that's going to go down as well, so be sure to check that out. Anyway, guys, that'll do it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And as usual, thank you for all the support, especially to you guys on Patreon, and a big shout out to my executive Patreon Smokescreen producers, Griffin, Guy10, Marylin, Bentley, Kissa, Powell, JoAnna, Sean Hayes, and Marc Joseph, aka the Snow in Winterfell. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to get everything, and be sure to click that notification bell so you're notified when I drop a new video. So thanks for watching, you guys, and we'll see you next time.